Hello everybody, I'm Gavin and this is the British Bookworm. So today I'm going to review this book. I'm going to keep it fairly quick as this is my third, fourth, fifth time trying to do this book. So I'm going to give this book a 2 out of 5. It is called Krav Maga Principles and Techniques by Devin Shirley. Devin Shirley is a 3rd degree black belt in Krav Maga with a large amount of experience in other areas of martial arts, and a graduate at West Point in 1996. He has a business called Krav Fit, which I'll put a little link somewhere on here that you can find online, www.kravfit US. And as a book, I'm only going to give it a 2 out of 5 for a few reasons, which I'm going to go into at the end of like a summarization of this video. So I've read it 2 times now. I bought it a while ago and read it and didn't really think much of it, to be quite honest. Rereading it with less ego as a person who's been studying and training in Krav Maga now for 20 years. I've read pretty much hundreds of different books and hundreds of descriptions on all the techniques in the syllabus of all levels, actually, over the years. And so why I bought this originally was just to basically see, I believe in rereading books, not just to master the contents within them as much as possible, i.e., you remember the more information in each book you reread, but also to read books on the same topic, covering the same issues, because usually by studying a book from another author about the exact same thing, you can pick up different things that you wouldn't have picked up otherwise. So when I read this the second time, to my surprise, with less ego, I realized that it's actually a really good book. So even though I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5, it's still a good book. And if you are a student of Krav Maga, I do recommend it. One of the reasons why I'm only giving it a 2 out of 5 on my score, where I score my own, based on my own opinion on these things, is that the book isn't continued. I think the original idea for Devin was to do the levels from level 1 to level 5 through the syllabus of Krav Maga. So I'm very, very disappointed to find out that this is his only book that I can find online, unless I'm mistaken. If I am, I'd be very, very happy to be proven wrong. The second one, I'm kind of jumping ahead on myself. The yellow belt syllabus has about 52 techniques depending on who teaches it. My current syllabus that I'm spending an exorbitant amount of time studying, just yellow belt, and then I'm moving slightly into orange belt, just basically because I want to really master every single finite detail of every technique within the syllabus and see if I dedicate gigantic amount of effort, time, and study and research on each level and really embed the techniques within my mind, my intelligence, as well as my body, that I want to see how it correlates into other styles of martial arts and other kind of personal expressions of fighting through my own methodology, if you like. So I've just finished my officially recognized, as in like I'm recording in detail in this book, every single thing I'm doing. Today would have been has been session 120 of yellow belt moving into orange belt syllabus with a few twists in it. So as a book, on my second read, to be quite honest with you, it's weird because when you read a book again, you usually don't read a book you didn't think much of. But I read it because I thought, you know what, it's going to be a quick read. It is a 3 to 5 hour read, and the word for it is going to be Krav Maga, which means contact fight. Now, to my surprise, when I've reread this with a bit more attention, if you like, I've picked up quite a few bits and pieces in it, which I didn't on my first read. And in all honesty, the first read, I kind of read it just to kind of clock it off. So that's something that I've learned personally, which maybe you can learn from, is never judge a book overly with your ego. All right, I've read that technique. how to throw the lead straight 100 times, 500 times. But even though I've just preached that I like reading or reading said techniques by different opinions to get variations and subtleties of a boxing jab, let's say, or the slip and weave in boxing or whatever it is, you basically find that I've made the same mistake, even though I am a massive advocate of rereading stuff or reading the same thing by different people about the same topic to get different attitudes and opinions and beliefs about why this is done. Nothing is more like that as a style as JKD, Jeet Kune Do, or Jiu-Jitsu or Muay Thai. You've got different ideas of what's right, what's wrong, or what's slightly better, or what's preferenced to doing things. However, another side of this book, which I don't approve of, is that it has, for those who don't know, Krav Maga has an amazing syllabus of self-defense against certain weapons that are ubiquitous in the world, or it seems so. So, to have Krav Maga at yellow belt, a syllabus, having the pistol firearm defenses, which is only a handful, only 4 or 5 in the last chapter, to me, that's really silly. I'd rather be studying hooks, uppercuts, and other defenses and counters to having a pistol defense or counter at a yellow belt level. Now, my only presumption is that Devin has done that on purpose to try to entice more of an audience into Krav Maga, or he believes that the principles, because Krav Maga is built on principles more than any other martial arts. Maybe you could classify Jiu-Jitsu and Karate in that category, and well, you could do it with a lot, to be honest. But it's extremely, when you learn the principles of Krav Maga, it's an extremely impressive self-defense system. Contrary to a lot of YouTube opinions and commenters online about martial arts and styles. Okay. Now, what am I going to say as my takeaways, right? A couple of things. In Krav Maga, the stance is very square. Now, personally, I'm not a great fan of it, even though I'm really I've been for quite a few years now trying to get used to it. But it's based on principles and common sense and logic. So the idea is you have a neutral stance where you just stand normally, which ancient, back in the days of karate, Shotokan karate and the foundations of karate, the masters actually talked about a neutral stance themselves, i.e. what you stand like in everyday life when you totally aren't ready to be attacked. Krav Maga follows exactly like that ancient idea, which is not ancient, really. It's common sense. You're going to get attacked very possibly without being aware of it, so you're going to be standing up straight. So the neutral stance is a significant part of the training syllabus, where you train from a neutral position. Although it's not covered too much in that, is it is mentioned? I can't remember, but I'm just getting off tangent really. So that's the neutral stance, and then the fighting stance is designed to look like you're still being passive. So you're bringing your arms up, you're getting into an athletic knee-flexed leg position with a square position, and your arms are up to basically say, look, you're trying to still bring down the energy of the situation and bring down, but your hands are now protecting your neck from a knife attack, your face from a knife attack, or just a push or a jab. But your hands are up now like this with your palms, the well-known for the well-educated passive position of the arms for those who love body language like me. It's like, look, please, can we talk about it? And then you've got both arms to protect both sides of your body, if you imagine your body in a sphere. So that's the square stance. You also have just as much power, which we can go and find many clips online from Bas Rutten discussing this. You have both equal power on left and right arms. So there is no jab in the street. We aren't jabbing. We want to punch as hard as we can with both left and right limbs, or the legs, limbs, knees, and elbows. So we are square to make sure that we can throw both power on both sides. So that's something I want to get across in the system. The second point is it's not meant to be a sport. Now, I can feel the arrow from those who may watch this video because of the retards in the martial art fraternity years ago who some of them are still out there with delusions about ideas of how to fight. But there's a caveat with that, which I'm not going to go into with this, because like everything, there's a nuance to every topic. But the stance and the arms and the position and structure was favoured by some of the great fighters in history. So don't, if you do, pull the stance apart too quickly when Bas Rutten has designed his style and he's got experience, vast experience in martial arts. You know, he's a PhD in fighting, for fuck's sake. So don't start coming at Krav Maga system unless you know more about it. I like in this book, it talks about open, close in regards to teaching foot stance, footwork. You lead in the direction with the foot nearest the direction. So you open the stance and then your back foot closes it. So you're in the same position. So that's really good. Number two, or another point, forget about the numbers, but another point. There was a clip the other day where I saw on a show on YouTube of Joe Rogan talking about the best elbow for self-defense. I can't find it. I've tried to find it. Now, in the syllabus manuals that I'm following, I've got into the habit of the more traditional looping elbow, which I've got to say I'm very much aware of the alternative to elbow number one in the Krav Maga system. But it's more of a loop elbow, so like you're trying to sort of push and smash the head to that direction in relation to the strike. But Joe Rogan mentions this, and it's funny because it is the way that this guy teaches elbow number one in the system of Krav Maga, where the elbow is coming forward rather than side or round. So the opponent is going to have to lean right back to miss it. And it is less chance of you missing and going on to the dead side of your opponent. So your opponent's basically got an advantage on you. If you miss it, now you're over here, all right? So I thought that was really good. What else? What else? As I wrote so many book points. Wrist grips. In Krav Maga, the idea of Krav Maga is it's a 0 to 100% in a split second, as much as you can, right? So it's not a sport. And again, I don't know why, but people with egos in the you know, like sports, UFC arena, they don't understand that there is a difference between a military self-defense system and sport. It's a different fucking world. Regardless of buffed up, beefy guys who have dedicated their lives to UFC style, you know, they're in a dojo every week doing triangles, arm bars, and hitting the pads. It's still a radically different fucking world. If you've never done a knife defense, you are screwed. And even if you've dedicated your life, let's get real, if you've dedicated your life to knife defenses, you can still get absolutely destroyed. And would be preference is to run. The preference is to get out there, no matter how skilled you are, if you can. But what if you can't? You might. There's lots of examples online of people who think they know how to fight because they've done sport competition of various types, and when they do self-defense scenarios, they're screwed. All right. So time and time again, that is categorically a fact. Another example is wrist grips. So, which is where I will go in anyway. Wrist grips. There's a nice subtlety with what he says, right? So you have the 0 to 100%, where you just pure, utter, raw aggression on the aggressor that's attacking you. You don't give the person a chance. You press forward, you hit them with every weapon you can think of, they drop, you either carry on striking, look for the further aggressors, more people that may be a threat to you, and check your 360, and run away if you can, or deal with him if you need to, or deal with them more threats if potential, if there's a need to it, right? So if someone grips your wrist, one wrist, it's different to two wrists. If someone's gripping two wrists, they're trying to exert more control over you, so it's getting more serious. So that's a nuance that this book mentions, which I thought was fantastic, because there definitely is a nuance to one wrist grip to two wrist grip. Totally, you know, it only might be a nuance for a fraction of a second or a few seconds, because it can go from being slightly less aggressive to just as aggressive and on a dime, as they say. So that's something to be mindful of. The majority of it follows the same syllabus as I'm already on, all right? But there are some subtle points in this that aren't in my actual book that I'm dedicating a huge amount of time to studying. The Krav Maga Association books that I've been reading for 20 years, but I'm really studying them at the minute so that I literally know every single technique within the official syllabus off by heart. When you're on the Krav Maga, one of the other strengths of Krav Maga, and I don't give a fuck what other people's opinions are, to be honest with you, and I'm going to cut some of my audience off straight off, but I just don't give a fuck, and I'm extremely knowledgeable on this topic. And so when it comes to certain things, I'm just not giving an inch at all. Krav Maga is possibly one of the few, if only the one, modern day system of self-defense that deals with the ground position, i.e., you've fallen on your arse in a self-defensive scenario and your opponent or opponents are standing above you. Now, usually people think that you are going to curl up in a ball and get pummeled. Now, if it comes to it, there is a said position, the turtle type position, to get into for that scenario. But Krav Maga is one of the few fighting systems that I've seen, and I'm very, very knowledgeable on fighting. It's one of the few systems out there that's dealt with this on a sensible, realistic scenario. Now, there are some, styles that have certain ideas on what you do, but Krav Maga is, don't be stupid, don't mess around with elaborate ideas of leg locks or something, which you may be able to pull off in a jiu-jitsu style scenario, but it deals with the base positions of side position, back position, and 3 kicks, which is in the yellow belt syllabus, which I think is superb, because practicing those kicks on the floor actually improve your standing up kicks as well. But you have to drill them enough times and long enough on the floor, which which people have a psychological aversion to being on the floor. You must get used to being on the floor in the back and side positions and turning the hips around and throwing kicks at opponents in a way that's going to potentially fuck them up. You can actually fuck someone up pretty seriously on your back or from the side on the floor with the opponent standing over you, approaching you, and you can rip their knees, rip their groin, kick their groin, and seriously hurt them. So don't think your fight's over if you're on the floor. So that's another really significant point of Krav Maga, and the one that, again, it doesn't get much praise for by people who drive their opinions from their ego more than anything. The push. Now, it's sad to say that it's not even in my main syllabus, this, but the push and pulling is without doubt, one of the most underrated moves in fighting everywhere. And I mean, even in judo, less in judo, I'll take that back, but everywhere, literally everywhere except judo. Forget I said that. But I mean, even in judo, it's missed out at times, where it could be used. Push and pull is fundamental to controlling your opponent in a near-tight clinch scenario. Now, pushing is taught in self-defense styles, okay, and controlling the distance between you and your opponents, and not letting them broach the gap to have more domination on you. So once you've done the soft release in this book that I'm reviewing, you push your opponent on the chest and push them back. That's a fantastic strategy for the street, because if they then come back into you from that push and you say get back, that's the line you're saying, get the fuck back. If they come to you now, the fight is on, and that stance now becomes that stance very quickly. Another key point in this is the defensive front kick. Defensive front kick is extremely powerful technique, but it needs to be done in the right context and in understanding the difference between the regular kick and the defensive kick. The subtlety point in this that I like, which I already knew, but in this book it's mentioned, if you kick the solar plexus or slightly higher up, the person will go back from the hips back like that. If you kick him in the groin, and this isn't in the book, but if you kick him in the groin or lower down, they come forward, that can help set up good strikes and opportunities to get out. So if someone's coming at you with a knife and you kick him in the chest and they go back because you've hit them hard, and this solar plexus is a vulnerable target, really very, very good striking target for self-defense, or really underrated. You can't train that. If you hit that with an elbow, number one, the chances of them going down is very, very strong. And it's not a moving target in the same way a chin would move. And, you know, like the person trying to move, even with not much skill. Then you've got the ground positions. Going back to the ground positions, when you're on the back position, if you draw a center line down the person that's standing above you, when they go to the right, your right leg should be up for kicking, and your left leg is your base leg. And then if the person moves to your left side, around this side, trying to come over through past my legs this side, then your left leg comes up to be the stomping kick, and your right leg bases. That, bizarrely, is not in my manuals that I'm studying very much hardcore, and it should be. And that's what's funny about reading different books. You think, well, that's a significant point. Why is that a significant point not actually in the other book, which is better? It's a better book, but why does the author of those books missed out some subtle points? Final point, even though I don't want to mention it because I don't believe gun defences at all should be in a yellow or orange belt syllabus at all whatsoever. He does go into some good detail at the back of the last chapter about gun defences and highlight some points by obviously rereading different angle on the same technique from different teacher. You get more information, you get more input, so it stays more in your brain for future reference when you come to training it. If you disarm a person, a thug, let's say, someone's trying to do a robbery in the street and they've got a pistol and you've trained really good at pistol and defences and you know you can take the guy out and you take it. Although this is going to be more reference to an American person or someone in a country that allows you to carry, everyday carry, pistol, fire, sidearms, don't use the aggressor, the attacker, the robber's pistol as a weapon, as a firearm against the person once you've disarmed that person, because you don't know the working state of that weapon. You want to carry on, you could use it as a blunt force instrument on the person, but don't assume that it's going to be a working, functional weapon. So I think I'm going to cover, I think 20 or plus 20 minutes is enough for this book. And obviously Krav Maga gets a lot of stick, and some people question the knife element to the defences. And I'm going to come back to that on my next book review, because I've read one of the foundational books of the whole system for the 5th time, 6th time probably actually, over 20 years of studying it. And I've reread it, and I'm going to come hopefully hard on that book review on these issues that people... Krav Maga is the most realistic self-defense system on the planet. People can bring up jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, Thai boxing, all they like. Krav Maga is the system that covers the angles and perspectives of real life self-defense in a world where there are no rules and it's criminal. And it's literally like, there's nothing stopping people from doing whatever they like to you. Krav Maga is saying, right, we need to address principles that allow people to train up from zero, being absolutely no athlete whatsoever, to being able to try and have some chance of protecting themselves. And I'm going to finish off with one more point. Doesn't matter what opinion you have about what I've just said, or Krav Maga, or you think Jiu-Jitsu is the best sport in the world for self-defense, as many people seem to think. where they lose track of a lot of angles on the reality of it, of street violence. Every martial art, no matter how good you get at it, has problems and holes in it. And Krav Maga definitely does. But there's a lot of comments about Krav Maga that try and thrive off an ignorance of the nuance of fighting without actually knowing in depth the system of Krav Maga. And I'm telling you that there is no better system out there for self-defense than Krav Maga, period. And I'm not going to go into any more about that on this video because it's going too long, but I know what I'm saying is correct. And with that, I'm going to ask you to like this video, leave a comment below, talk to me about your opinions on fighting and martial arts. Even if you don't agree with what I'm saying, please leave your views below. And what else? Subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope that you have gained something from it. And thank you for giving me your time. See you later.